Welcome back. Another reminder coming up tonight at 6:30 and 11 on WBZ News. The latest results of the Suffolk University WBZ Boston Globe poll in the U.S. Senate race. And we're talking with Victoria McGrane of the Globe. And Vicki, the most recent poll in the Senate race out of UMass Lowell showed a dead heat, following on previous polls back in the fall when Kennedy jumped in that showed him with wide leads over Ed Markey. Now, the UMass Lowell poll has a large margin of error, over 6 points, but just for the sake of our conversation, let's say it's accurate in the moment. What could account for that? The Markey campaign keeps trying to tell me that even after all his many years in office here, most people don't know Ed Markey.
I think that's very true.
And maybe they're starting to get to know him.
Sure. I think he benefits from the endorsement of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and his association with the Green New Deal. It's certainly something he's been emphasizing to the exclusion of a lot of other issues. When you know the events that he does do, he's been doing a lot of town halls through his Senate campaign, or through his Senate office, but they kind of function as campaign events about the Green New Deal, and he's become very associated with it. A lot of young people, the Sunrise Movement here in Boston, in Massachusetts, is very supportive of him. So I think he does have that advantage of being associated with one of the most powerful youth movements of the moment.
And yet, you know, Kennedy has the name.
Yes, he has the name, he has the youth, he has the national profile. I mean, don't forget, he was the Nancy Pelosi's choice to give the first Democratic response to Trump's first State of the Union address. He has a national fundraising network. He has a lot of supporters around the whole country, not just here in Massachusetts.
Well, this recent poll we're talking about only barely overlapped for one day with the first debate, the Channel 2 debate. There are 5 scheduled. One of them will be right here at WBZ on Tuesday, August 11th, live from 7 to 8 o'clock. 5 debates in total. Do you see those, based on the first one we've seen, as a factor in this race?
I don't think the first debate moved the needle. I think they both did fine, and a lot of strategists say that that is going to advantage Kennedy, that if to the extent to which things stay static and Markey doesn't have a big breakout moment or other kind of moving the needle moment, that Kennedy is ahead, just given the sort of the name recognition and the sense that Markey has been in Congress for a very long time.
He sure was emphasizing that in the Channel 2 debate, and, you know, as well he should.
Right.
That's the basis for him to seek re-election, and yet, you know, I keep thinking back to Presley versus Capuano and that huge upset. And you wonder if this isn't really a great time to be a long-time Washington fixture in Massachusetts politics or anywhere else.
Right, especially one who has these nagging concerns or rumors that he really lives in Bethesda and not in Massachusetts, which is a sort of an argument Kennedy makes, not directly attacking Markey, but he does make a lot of, I'm going to show up, I'm going to be everywhere, because that's what Massachusetts needs. Right, kind of an indirect argument hitting Markey on that point.
Great to have you here.
It's wonderful to be here.
And always good to collaborate with the Globe on polling.